Hello and welcome back to another episode of Between the Pages. Alan is back here today with me and we're going to talk about a movie. We're going to roll the dice again after our Mandarin episode, and we're going to talk about a movie that's even further in the future, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, right?
And Electro.
Yes. Everyone's very excited. I'm excited about Electro. Are you excited about Electro?
I have been thinking for a while Electro should have been in the movies. You know?
He's such a popular villain, right? I mean, well, kind of.
And visually it's just great. Someone who's throwing lightning at you, that's a danger everyone understands. And it works really well visually with the special effects. We know how to do great things with lightning, so you don't have to worry about animatronics or CGI kind of thing. Well,
not only that, but you know, I was going to say, like, oh, well, probably the reason that it's been so hard to get him on there is because, you know, he's a little corny.
Yeah.
You know, but you know what? All the Spider-Man villains are kind of, you know, very 60s. Like it's interesting because other rogues galleries have evolved, but I think Spider-Man's really has not.
I think they're just gonna fit the weirdness of Peter, because Peter looks weird. It's a red and blue spider guy who like climbs up walls and such, and I mean, he's almost got a Dick Tracy flair with a lot of his villains.
I think that's an excellent comparison.
Like the Vulture, get this, is a really old guy
who kind of looks like a vulture.
And looks kind of like a vulture.
And so they hadn't brought this character in yet. It's unique in that it's not a redo of a villain. A lot of times, you know, we've had so many comic book movies at this point that a lot of times it's like, oh, okay, let's see your interpretation. I mean, Jamie Foxx is going to be able to define this character for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's a character that, interestingly, every time they've adapted it into the cartoons, they've really had some fun giving a different spin on it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I remember in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, he's the Red Skull's son, and for whatever reason. And then you had the MTV cartoon had him where he was a classmate of Peter Parker's, and you kind of understood him. He just was someone who was so bullied so much.
Well, that happens in those teen shows where you're like, everyone's a classmate.
Right, exactly. And he was really weird in that show. And then
he's always been kind of a weird character. You know, he has that weird laugh. A lot of times they depict him as.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I rode the Spider-Man ride at Universal Studios.
Sure.
Great ride. And my sister's not a comic book fan, but at the moment when Electro jumps on the vehicle and says a line right in your face, my sister turned to me and she was like, "This ride is amazing." And it just won me over because I was like, yes, she's enjoying something comic book related.
I mean, there's a lot of fun you can have with this character. My favorite interpretation, honestly, was probably the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon from a few years ago, where Electro got his powers because he was working in Kurt Connor's lab.
And you know what? I have to say, I get a big Kurt Connors vibe off of him, even in the movie, from what I'm seeing from the stills, right?
Well, it goes with this theme, and in a lot of Spider-Man stories, there are people like Spider-Man who get mutated by accident. And
labs are a dangerous place to work, kids.
Yeah, basically. and the theme always becomes, you know, how do you react? What do you choose to do with that power? And we've got Spidey who chooses a very hard path, but it's the right path. And then you've got people like Electro who just say, you know what, the world owes me something.
Yeah, oh, totally. So actually, you know what? I think that let's start with looking at the movie.
Yeah.
Because I think that it got so much attention because I think this isn't what anyone was expecting.
It's really not. and there have been a few jokes about that he's Black Lightning now, basically.
Oh, totally, yeah. Or he's the Emperor from Star Wars.
Yeah,
you know, I've seen some people do some matches side by side, and he does look exactly like him. And, you know, and there's a Mr. Freeze element. And, but, you know, I have to, first of all, I'm going to withhold judgment on this because you can see the LED lights in his hood, which I feel are going to be removed. I think that's just to create that light glow effect. I mean, I think this is a visual look that's going to rely so heavily on special effects.
Yes. Yeah, and also, we don't know what his final costume is going to be. Whether
this is like just discovered I have powers stage, probably, right?
It could very well be that, you know, and maybe what he wears at the end is going to be the same thing. Maybe it's going to be the same thing but ripped, so it looks more impressive. Maybe he'll do some kind of a suit to regulate his powers, as some of the cartoons tend to play with.
No, it's interesting. I have to say, like, you know, I've been saying that I think it's very exciting that this is really your first, you know, black supervillain. You know, in the film, and that's very exciting. But you know, he's not black anymore. He's blue.
He's blue.
He's a Smurf. which might work for the character. But I thought I kind of thought that it's like it's diversity, but not diversity. So I feel like undercuts it just a little.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm okay with the Hulk being a white guy who turns green. So if this dude occasionally turns blue when he powers up.
Oh, that's a good question. Will he always be blue? Like that's like can
that's
he
what
go?
I'm wondering.
Yeah, can he go undercover? I mean, I don't know. I love Jamie Foxx so much. I think he's on a roll. I'm a big fan of his work.
I'm looking forward to see what he brings to this.
Well, also, it's interesting because we've seen also the Max Dillon photo, right, of what he looks like as Max Dillon.
Right.
And they're going like, it's funny because they just did that in Iron Man 3 with like, he starts out as a nerd, like a crazy nerd with like the Jerry curl and everything. And
I kind of wanted that to stick around much longer in Iron Man 3. I was just like, you're adorable as a nerd. Like,
Aldrich Killian, right? Yeah, he was so,
He was killing me. It was killing me. I mean, the whole 90s vibe, as soon as you open up with blue, I'm just like, this is awesome.
Right? Yeah. So it's funny to have this. I wonder how much he'll get to define that character. I hope it isn't like Poison Ivy and Batman and Robin, where she was like a nerd for like one scene, just basically for comedy effect.
Yeah.
Like I hope this is like a legitimate character that Jamie Foxx can infuse with some personality, because he kind of played a nerd a little bit in Collateral. Mm-hmm. And that he was really good at that. I mean, like he has a lot of range.
He does. He's a fantastic actor. No, I think we're going to see a good take on Electro. I liked Amazing Spider-Man. I'm looking forward to this sequel.
Well, yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm glad to get out of origin territory.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. And of course, these comic book movies are crazy because every time you have a villain, you kind of get to cheat and have an origin story anyway, because you're like, here's the origin for our villain.
Right.
And those are often some of the greatest sequences, though. But I mean, just on a side note, I do worry about this being villain heavy with the Rhino as well.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm not too scared of that yet is because also it's the kind of villains we have where the Rhino's almost always muscle. Mm-hmm. He's a henchman.
Paul Giamatti, henchman.
Yeah.
I think they got to be changing that a little bit. That's crazy.
But he's the guy that works with other villains who have plans. He rarely has a plan himself. So if you have him in that capacity, all right, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we start out. Let's go back. Let's follow the history of this character. As you were saying before we started shooting, it's not particularly deep.
No, we found this guy Electro who was robbing banks, and he gave this origin story about how he got electrical powers because basically he was fixing some power lines.
Yeah, he starts out not as like this major scientist. He starts out kind of like more of like a technician, working the grid.
Right, exactly, and he's very good at what he does. And he knows it, so he's kind of a jerk about it. And he really makes people, it is that attitude of people owe me. Mm-hmm. And then when he gets powers, he just naturally becomes a villain. So there's no like, well, society turned its back on me when I got mutated. No, he was a jerk. Now he's a jerk with powers.
It's like kids who grow up.
Yeah.
They were jerky kids, they're jerky adults.
Yeah.
That's funny. But one of the interesting things I thought was that they talked about Magneto approaching him like right away early on, being like, come join my brotherhood.
Right.
And he said, you have a power that could rival mine. And
right.
I was like, what? Like, talk about not rising to your potential, Electro.
Yeah. which they've done a few times where you have this period where Electro is just not very impressive and you get
just
tired
a light
of,
show, right?
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. So then on occasion they've done stories where he really ups his power. Like in the 90s, they really upped his power where he could mess with your brain.
Yeah, the electrical impulses,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, which is very clever. It makes sense.
It was really cool. And they really played up with, wait, this guy can like travel on lightning through the sky.
Like Livewire,
a little
right?
bit, yeah. And so, but then somehow writers either forget about that or the editors forget about that and he becomes not so great again and he's just a member of the Sinister Six again.
I have to say, talk about a fashion faux pas. I think this star mask just haunts him.
It's such a weird mask.
Right? I mean, it's like only a jerk would come up with that and be like, "Oh, I look awesome."
You're a jerk.
Yeah, it's just like it's not even a practical costume. He has these things that you could probably easily grab.
Yeah, the things off his gloves. Yeah, and there are elements of it I like, but it really Steve Ditko did some amazing costumes, but this one it just seemed to be let's throw a lot of lightning at him. Look at him, he's got lightning on his face and on his chest and down his legs and on his hands. It's all lightning.
Well, it's so fun. Well, first of all, on one hand, like it reminds me of that horrible. Like I really I liked a lot about what Julie Taymor did with her musical, Turn Off the Dark. But there's this villain fashion show sequence,
right?
And you watch it, and you're just like, it's really appalling.
No, it's bad.
And but when you see this, you're like, well, I guess that's where Julie, felt she had the go-ahead. And it's just unfortunate. But, his costume evolves, I think, the way that special effects do.
Oh, definitely.
Right? I mean, like, when he starts out, like, we couldn't show a lightning bolt. We just had to paint it.
Right.
And now as people become more aware, like, that becomes, as you said, the easiest special effect.
Yeah.
Now they're starting to, like, really make him cooler.
And people start playing with, well, what would that maybe do to the body? Like maybe he would burn off all his hairs.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the electric aura that he keeps talking about, where people can't even touch him all the time because they'll get shocked. So what is that going to do to your body? And
this is the ultimate picture that you have
that's
here.
the ultimate there.
I like this costume a lot. Maybe we'll see something like that.
And yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. And it sort of has now translated back into the main comics, where he's still wearing his costume from like neck down, but now he doesn't intend to wear a mask, and he's got this bald head, and he's got like kind of lightning scars on his face.
Oh, I like the scars a lot.
Right.
I think that's very cool. But also, I think he doesn't need a mask, and that's where the Jamie Foxx interpretation is okay. He's evolved almost. Like he has no interest in being a human.
Exactly. Like he is Electro. He has no interest in turning off his powers usually, and he's just doing what he wants to do. He wasn't like the Green Goblin who had to maintain a secret identity because there was a business facade.
He had shareholders.
Right, and he needed the power of his other life. Like, no, this is the only power he has as Electro.
He has no interest in being Max Dillon. I mean, I think a lot of people don't even know what Electro's real name is because, it never comes up. He's Electro.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's he look like in the comics today? Because he like really never even shows up in the comics today. Like the 616. He's it's so funny, he's hardly ever used.
He has appeared most recently as a member of the Sinister Six again. And
in the 616?
Yeah. In Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man run. You can see him in the crowd right there. Basically, he just got black pants.
That, and that's a horrible position. Look how unimportant he is. He's like an extra.
Yeah, Mysterio is almost slapping him around like, dude, you're in my way as I'm touching this important button.
Mysterio is better. It's so bad. And there's the Rhino, by the way, on the right, for anyone who's wondering.
And he's just got the shirt. He's lost the mask, and he got black pants. That's basically it.
And the scars, the face scars.
The face scars, and I think that's cool, and that's an improvement. But the rest of the outfit, it really looks like he was going out to meet the Sinister Six, and then realized, oh, I don't have my costume. Oh, I don't have a lot of time. I'll just put on the shirt.
Yeah, when in doubt, wear black.
They know who I am.
I mean, I think that his position here says it all. Even
Chameleon and Mysterio were just kind of in front of him.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't know. The Spider-Man Rogues Gallery is a tough sell, but I mean. But he's more popular in the Ultimate Universe, I think. He has that cool look.
From the beginning, you had the cool look, and let's face it, comics are visual, movies are visual, the look sells. And also, with the Ultimate, they immediately set up of how deadly he is. So you didn't get to build up ever that he was reliably defeatable. Whereas by the time most of us got to know Electro, that was like the 100th time Spidey beat him, and he understood, like, so this kind of water attack will take him down, and this will take him down, and this will take him down.
That's the other thing I'm wondering. Like, no matter how impressive Electro might be, controlling the brain, machines, blackout across the city. I mean, we are a digital age. I think you could do a lot with Electro. But at the end of the day, electric villains are always just like, where's the nearest fire hydrant?
Yeah, so you've definitely got to play with that. You've definitely got to figure out if there's a way around it, or if he can still be deadly despite that. Like maybe that takes away some of his power, but not all of it. Maybe he can still be a fighter. There are ways to play with it. So I'll be curious to see if we're able to defeat Electro in the movie beyond throwing him into a swimming pool.
And also, do you think that he'll be able to escape this comparisons with the Emperor? Because the Emperor has electric powers as well.
Yeah, it's something that's always going to be there as a quick and easy joke, but I think everyone will eventually every villain has had its own share of like, oh, he looks like a Power Ranger or something, and eventually you just judge it by the villain. Like if
Jamie Foxx's performance, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you get into it in the movie, you're just going to watch it as the film presents it. This is Electro.
Well, I hope they do trick him out with special effects like crazy.
I think you got to.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
Yeah, that will be nice.